Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I want to start today with a question that it just kept popping into my head while I was going through this week's stack of materials. It's a question about foundations. If you build a house, you need concrete, right? You need bedrock. But what happens if you try to build a life on a foundation that isn't just unstable, but is like actively trying to kill you? Can you ever really trust the floor beneath your feet, even years later, when you're safe?
That is the central question of the material we have today. It's a terrifying question, honestly, because usually when we talk about, coming-of-age stories or even romance novels, we expect a certain trajectory.
Right.
Girl meets boy, hurdles happen, growth occurs. But the source text we are analyzing today, the early chapters of Colleen Hoover's Heartbones, it starts way before the romance. It starts in a place where growth is a luxury and survival is, well, it's the only metric that matters.
Exactly. And I have to admit, when I first saw the cover and the blurb, I thought, okay, summer romance, beach house, angst. I was kind of ready for something breezy. But looking at the source text, this is visceral. It's heavy.
Oh, it's incredibly heavy.
We aren't just reading a story. We're looking at what feels like a case study in extreme poverty and the psychology of trauma.
It creates a fascinating framework for us to explore. We have a protagonist, Beyah Grim, who is essentially a feral child who's then forced to navigate this this high society world. The clash there isn't just rich versus poor.
Yeah.
It's predator versus prey psychology versus, leisure psychology. It's two different species meeting.
So our mission today is to unpack that clash. We're going to look at the architecture of survival in Kentucky, the transition to what she sees as the alien planet of Texas,
Yeah.
and the incredibly complex character dynamics that form when you drop a survivor into a world of abundance.
We have to start at the bottom. We have to start in the trailer.
Let's set the scene. The source text opens in Kentucky. It's raining, it's grim, and we are inside a trailer that smells, and I'm quoting here, like mildew and bad decisions.
That sensory detail is so important, isn't it? The smell of the setting immediately tells you this is a place of decay. And in the center of this decay is Beyah, our narrator. She's staring at her mother, Janelle, who is dead on the couch.
And this is the first thing that really stopped me in my tracks. Because Beyah isn't crying, she isn't screaming, she's not calling 911 in a panic. She is standing there looking at the needle in her mother's arm, and she feels, relieved.
Relieved. It's a reaction that might seem cold or even, sociopathic to someone who hasn't lived her life. But if we dig into the psychology here, what we're seeing is adaptive numbness. It's dissociation.
Right.
Beyah describes her own reaction as detached. She feels nausea, physically but emotionally. She says, and this line is just devastating, "The nicest thing my mother has ever done for me is die."
The nicest thing my mother has ever done for me is die. That is such a brutal, brutal line. It implies that her mother's entire existence was an active burden, a net negative on Beyah's life.
And the text supports that completely. Jan wasn't just a bad mom. She was an addict, alcohol, gambling, and eventually meth. She was a black hole that sucked up every single resource Beyah ever managed to find. So when Beyah looks at her dead mother, she isn't losing a caregiver.
Right.
She's losing the primary threat to her own survival.
And she talks about this concept of impermeability. She questions if she was born broken or if this life broke her. She uses this phrase that I found so haunting. She says she has wet eyes and a dry heart.
That's the dissociation we're talking about. It's a perfect description. The body reacts, the eyes tear up, the stomach turns, because biologically that's her mother. But the heart, the emotional core, has to stay dry. It has to stay hard.
Why?
Because if she lets the grief in, if she lets herself feel the magnitude of the loss and the neglect, she collapses. And in her world, if you collapse, you die. It's that simple.
It reminds me of how soldiers sometimes describe combat. You can't process the horror while you're in the firefight. You have to shut it all down just to function.
Precisely. Beyah has been in a combat zone since she was born. She says she values damage over kindness, which is so counterintuitive.
Yeah, explain that a bit.
She says kindness is superficial, it washes off. But damage stains the soul. It sinks deep. She trusts the damage because it's permanent. It's the only reliable thing she's ever known.
Speaking of reliable threats, we have to talk about the ravenous cat. This metaphor. Man, it was hard to read.
This is one of the most powerful images in the early chapters, I think. Beyah personifies her hunger. It's not just a feeling of, I'm hungry, I should grab a snack.
No, not at all.
It is a ravenous cat living inside her torso.
She describes it as something that growls and claws and scrapes at her insides. It's a literal entity, and she has to feed it constantly just to keep it from eating her alive from the inside out.
And the source text gives us this heartbreaking backstory to explain where the cat comes from. At age 6 years old, Beyah had to learn to use the gas stove. Not because she was a prodigy chef, but because Janian would disappear on benders for days at a time. Beyah realized that if she didn't learn to cook whatever scraps were left, the cat would win.
Just imagine a 6-year-old lighting a pilot light on a gas stove because she's terrified of starving. And the food.
Mm.
We aren't talking about her cooking macaroni and cheese. She mentions finding old banana peels in the garbage.
And eggshells.
The eggshells broke me. She talks about scraping the membrane out of eggshells or just eating the shell for the calcium.
That detail is so crucial because it takes us out of the realm of food insecurity, which is already bad enough, and puts us squarely in the realm of famine.
It's a different level.
Eating an eggshell is an act of desperation that overrides the gag reflex. It overrides texture. It's pure, unadulterated survival instinct.
And yet she keeps this totally hidden. She hides the hunger. Why? Why is there so much shame attached to something that isn't her fault?
Well, shame is a very effective silencer. Children of neglect often internalize the failure of the parent. They think, if I'm not being fed, it must be because I'm not worth feeding.
Oh, that's rough.
Or, on a more practical level, if she tells someone Child Protective Services comes, they separate her from the only world she knows, which is terrifying in its own right. So she protects the very system that is starving her.
Which brings us to the irony of the Mother Teresa portrait.
Oh, this is a masterclass in character study through setting. Janin has a picture of Mother Teresa on the wall of this mildew-filled trailer, but she tells Beyah that Mother Teresa was a fraud.
So why keep the picture? If you think she's a fraud, just take it down.
That's what Beyah figures out. Janin needed the saint to be a fraud. If Mother Teresa, the epitome of goodness, has a dark side or is a fake, then Janian's own darkness isn't so exceptional, it's a deflection.
It's a way to feel better about herself.
Exactly. Janian surrounded herself with the idea that everyone is corrupt to excuse her own corruption.
It's like she's gaslighting herself. I'm not that bad because nobody is actually good.
Exactly. And Beyah sees right through it. She's incredibly observant. You have to be when you're navigating a minefield. You have to notice the shift in the air pressure before the explosion.
And the tragedy is she almost made it out. On her own terms.
Yeah.
She had an exit plan.
The volleyball scholarship?
This blew my mind. She has a full ride to Penn State starting in August. She is 2 months away, and she didn't tell a single soul.
This secrecy is the most defining trait of her resilience, I think. Most kids would shout that news from the rooftops. I got out, I made it. But Beyah, she hoarded that information like gold.
But why? I mean, practically speaking, wouldn't telling her mom maybe help? Or telling your dad?
She says it explicitly in the text. She don't want them to claim any credit for it. If she tells Janail and Janaim can say, look what I raised, if she tells her father, Brian, he can feel proud. Beyah wants the victory to be clean.
Untainted.
Yes, she wants to be able to look in the mirror and say, I did this despite you, not because of you.
That is a fierce kind of independence. But it also means she has absolutely no safety net. So when Chanian dies and the landlord Gary Shelby shows up.
Gary Shelby. We don't know much about him, but what we do know is just damning. He knows Jane is dead, he knows Beyah is a teenager, and his immediate reaction is eviction.
You have a week. But he wants the rent now. And she has, what was it, $27?
Less than $30 to her name. She is effectively homeless the moment her mother's heart stops. And this is what forces the plot into motion. She has to make the call she never, ever wanted to make. She has to call Beyah Grim.
Her father, the man who lives in Texas, the man she hasn't seen in years.
And notice the lie. She calls him, but she doesn't say, Mom died, I'm homeless, please help me. She says, I have some free time before college, can I come visit?
She frames it as a choice. A vacation.
Because she cannot bear to be a charity case. She can't bear to show the soft underbelly of her need. If she frames it as a visit, she retains some dignity. She retains control.
So she packs her entire life into a backpack. Literally, plastic grocery bags inside a backpack. And she gets a ride to the airport. And this ride, it's from a guy named Dakota. We need to put a pin in Dakota.
A massive pin. We will definitely come back to him, but just note that for now, the listener and Samson later thinks Dakota is just an ex-boyfriend. The reality is much, much darker.
So she flies to Texas, which brings us to segment 2, the crossing. And this isn't just a geographical move. It feels like she's switching dimensions.
It's a complete sensory override. She lands in Texas, and it's hot, it's humid. But more than that, she says she can smell the money.
What does money even smell like?
In this context, it smells like a lack of mildew. It smells like air conditioning. It smells like new leather from a car interior. It smells clean.
She meets Brian at the airport. Now, her memory of Brian is of a struggling guy. A guy who cut his own hair to save $10. A guy who reused Solo cups.
Right. A weekend dad who is barely scraping by himself. But the Brian standing there at baggage claim. He has a professional haircut. He's wearing expensive clothes. And when they walk to the parking lot,
The Jaguar.
a Jaguar, a luxury car. Beyah is standing there with her trash bag luggage, and her father unlocks a car that costs more than her mother's entire life earnings combined.
And the symbol on the steering wheel, the leaping cat.
The contrast is so deliberate. Inside Beyah is the ravenous cat of hunger. On the steering wheel is the leaping cat of wealth. It's a collision of symbols. She realizes in that moment that her father didn't just do okay. He became rich, and he never told her.
And he has seasonal homes, plural homes.
While she was eating eggshells. That realization, the betrayal of it, it's not just that he has money. It's that he had the capacity to save her from the hunger, and he didn't even know she was hungry because he just wasn't there.
And she still lies. He asks about her bags, and she tells him the airline lost her luggage.
She's so ashamed. This is the poverty shame. Again, she can't admit she doesn't own a suitcase. She'd rather lie and pretend to be a victim of airline incompetence than admit to being a victim of poverty.
So they drive to the ferry. To get to the Boulevard Peninsula, you have to take a ferry. And this is where the story pivots. This is where the survival instinct clashes violently with the social world.
The ferry incident. This scene is so layered. Beyah is exhausted. She's emotionally drained. And she hasn't eaten in 24 hours.
The cat is growling.
The cat is screaming. She steps out onto the deck to get away from her dad, and she sees it. A half loaf of sunbeam bread.
Just sitting on the deck. Someone had probably been feeding seagulls or something, just left it there.
Now, to you or me or anyone listening who has had lunch today, that is trash. That is bird food. It's gross. It's on the floor.
To Beyah.
It's calories. It's survival. She looks around, checks her witnesses, and then she takes a slice. And the way she eats it is fascinating. She doesn't wolf it down like you'd think.
Right. She makes a point of saying that people think starving people eat fast, like wolves. But she eats slow. She savors every single bite.
Because she knows the value of it. If you eat it fast, it's gone. If you eat it slow, you get to feel full for longer. It's a calculated, learned behavior from years and years of scarcity.
But she isn't invisible. Someone is watching her.
Samson. We don't know his name yet. She just calls him Douchebag Blue Eyes. But he's up on the upper deck. And he has a camera.
And he's taking pictures of her eating this floor bread.
Beyah's immediate interpretation is malicious. She thinks, he's documenting my freakishness. He's going to put this online. Look at the trashy girl eating garbage.
She feels so exposed. It's her deepest shame, the hunger being captured on a lens. So she runs. She hides in the bathroom, tries to fix her hair, tries to look like a normal teenager on vacation.
And when she comes out, he's waiting for her. He blocks her path.
And this interaction, okay, I want to debate this a bit. He hands her a $20 bill.
He slips it into her hand. Doesn't say much.
Now, looking at this objectively, he saw a girl eating bread off the floor. He probably thought, she's hungry? I have money, I'll help. It's a nice gesture, right? On the surface.
From his perspective, absolutely. It's charity, it's kindness. But we have to look at this through Beyah's lens. And her lens is completely warped by trauma.
Her lens is Dakota.
Her lens is Dakota. Her lens is every man she's ever known. In her world, men do not give women money for free. If a man corners you near a bathroom and hands you a 20, he is buying something from you.
She thinks he's soliciting sex.
She is 100% convinced he is treating her like a prostitute, because that is the only context she has for a transaction like this.
So she explodes. She throws the money right back at him. She rips the memory card out of his camera.
Which is an incredibly bold, aggressive move.
It's fight or flight, and she chose fight. Big time.
She's reclaiming her agency. She refuses to be his subject, and she refuses to be his purchase.
Wow.
She takes the memory card as collateral. It's a way of saying, you don't own me, I own you right now.
And she keeps it. She puts it in her pocket. And that tension, that just sets the stage for everything that follows. Because she gets back in the car, seething, and they arrive at the house. Segment 3. The glass house.
And if the airport was a shock, the house is an alien planet. It's on stilts. It's right on the water. It's beautiful.
And the smell. We talked about the mildew in the trailer. Beyah describes the beach house as smelling like lemon and bacon.
Which are the smells of comfort, right? Clean sheets and hot breakfast. It creates this immediate physical sensation of safety, which is so ironic because Beyah feels completely and utterly unsafe.
She meets the new family, the stepmother, Alana, and the stepsister, Sarah. Now, based on every teen movie I've ever seen, I expected Sarah to be a complete nightmare.
The evil stepsister trope, and Beyah expects it too. She's ready for war, she's ready for judgment.
But Sarah is bubbly, she's welcoming, she's chattering about clothes and boys and Instagram.
And that's almost harder for Beyah to navigate. Aggression she understands. Kindness, that's a trap. She doesn't know the rules for kindness. She doesn't trust it.
And then we get the thigh gap scene. This moment felt like a punch in the gut, just in terms of social commentary.
It really is. Sarah is helping Beyah unpack, or rather helping her find clothes because Beyah has nothing. And she looks at Beyah's legs and she says, "I'm so jealous. Your thighs don't touch. I've killed myself trying to get a thigh gap."
She is envying the physical symptom of starvation.
It's the fetishization of the poverty aesthetic. Wealthy society has decided that thin is beautiful, but they ignore the reality of how one becomes that thin in Beyah's world. Sarah sees a beauty standard. Beyah sees the nights she went to bed with the ravenous cat clawing at her stomach.
And Beyah, to her credit, she doesn't hide it. She snaps back. She says, "I've spent most of my life hungry."
It's a moment where the mask just slips off, and normally this would be the part where Sarah gets offended or awkward, but she doesn't.
No, she pivots. Later, they go to Walmart because Beyah needs everything from a toothbrush to underwear, and they end up sitting on the floor of the store eating chocolate donuts.
This is the bridge. Food again. But this time it's not bread off the floor, it's chocolate donuts, shared in abundance. And Beyah realizes that Sarah isn't mean, she's just sheltered. She's completely ignorant of Beyah's reality, but she isn't malicious.
That distinction is so important, it allows Beyah to lower her guard just a millimeter. But then, dinner happens.
The welcome dinner. Everyone is there. Brian, Alana, Sarah's boyfriend Marcos, and the neighbor.
The neighbor who just happens to be the guy from the ferry. Samson, of course.
The tension at this table is nuclear. Beyah is sitting there, hiding the fact that her mom is dead, hiding the fact that she's homeless, hiding the fact that she has Samson's memory card in her pocket. And Samson is sitting across from her, knowing she ate garbage earlier that day.
It's a silent standoff. And then the conversation turns to college tuition. And this is where the ghost of Jeannie Ann enters the room.
Brian mentions so casually, "Oh, I sent your mother the tuition money for Penn State."
And Beyah just freezes.
Yeah.
Because she never saw a dime of that money.
In that split second, she realizes the true depth of her mother's betrayal. Janan didn't just neglect her, she actively stole her future. She used Beyah's scholarship as a ploy to get cash from Brian, and you have to assume it was for drugs.
And Beyah can't say a single word. If she says, "I never got the money," she has to explain why. She has to explain the addiction, the death, the lies, everything. So she just swallows it. She takes another bite of her pancake and swallows the betrayal.
It creates this incredible isolation. She is surrounded by people, yet she is the only one who knows the truth of this situation. She is essentially a spy in her own life.
Let's move to segment 4, the onion and the ocean. Because Samson, he's not what he seems either. Thea calls him an onion.
Because he has layers. He's rich. His family owns 5 of these massive beach houses, but he lives in the smallest one. And it's stark white, empty. There are no pictures on the walls.
And the backpack. That detail mirrors Beyah perfectly. He keeps all of his clothes in a backpack on the floor.
He tells her, "The less I have, the easier it is to move." That is the language of a survivor, not a wealthy heir. Wealthy people tend to accumulate things. Survivors keep things light so they can run. Beyah recognizes this immediately.
They start this ritual. Samson sets an alarm on Beyah's phone for 6:00 a.m., which, can we just say, is a very intrusive move. Here, I'm setting an alarm on your phone. You're waking up at dawn.
It is. But she does it. They go out to their respective balconies, which are adjacent, and they just sit there. They watch the sunrise.
And they don't talk.
The silence is the point. Beyah is constantly filtering her words with everyone else, lying to her dad, navigating Sarah. With Samson, she can just exist. He doesn't demand an explanation from her.
But he does challenge her assumptions. The rooftop scene with Marjorie.
Marjorie, the pecan lady, she's this eccentric older neighbor, and Samson is up on her roof in the blistering heat, fixing a leak.
He's sweating, he's working, he's not getting paid, he's just helping.
This shatters Beyah's image of him as the spoiled rich kid. He's capable of labor, he's capable of kindness without transaction.
And he calls Beyah up to the roof to show her the sunset. He's trying to share his perspective with her.
He's trying to show her that he sees, he notices things, he notices the bread, he notices the sunset, and then he drops the line that really defines their entire relationship. Damaged people recognize other damaged people.
Damaged people recognize other damaged people. It's like a secret handshake, isn't it?
It's validation. For the first time, probably in her entire life, Beyah feels seen, not judged, not pitied, but seen. He is acknowledging that he sees the cracks in her armor because he has cracks in his own.
And this leads to the reveal of the photos. She finally gets the courage to look at the memory card she stole.
And she's expecting to see mockery. She's expecting to see ugly poor girl.
Instead, she sees art.
Samson takes photos of sad things. Trash floating in the water, a dead bird, the rip in her dress. But he frames them in a way that finds a strange beauty in the tragedy.
It recontextualizes the fairy scene completely. He wasn't exploiting her poverty. He was capturing her resilience. He was fascinated by the sadness, not mocking it.
It's a profound moment of connection. But connection is dangerous for Beyah, and that danger manifests physically in segment 5.
The night swim. The atmosphere here changes completely. It's dark. They're in the ocean. The water is warm.
The sensory deprivation of a night swim is important. It removes the visual cues of class and status. In the dark water, you aren't rich or poor, you're just two bodies.
They get deep. Beyah admits she's never been hugged by a parent. That creates this ache in the scene. And Samson, he wraps her legs around him. He holds her afloat.
It's intimate, it's sensual. Beyah is finally feeling safe. She's letting the dry heart get a little wet. She's letting her guard down.
And then chaos.
The jellyfish sting.
It's so sudden. 1 second it's romantic and quiet. The next she is screaming in agony. She's been stung on the inner thigh.
The pain snaps him right back to reality. Samson goes into crisis mode. He carries her out of the water, runs to the outdoor shower, and grabs a bottle of vinegar.
Which, again, sounds weird, but is actually the correct medical treatment.
Yes, the vinegar neutralizes the nemesis. He's trying to stop the venom. He's doing the right thing.
But visually, oh, it looks bad. It's dark. They're in a shower. She's screaming. He's touching her inner thigh.
And Brian walks out.
The father, the absent father.
Brian sees a boy with his daughter in a shower. He hears screams. His brain goes to the darkest possible place. He assumes sexual assault.
And he reacts with violence. He punches Samson hard. Breaks his nose.
Now let's pause on the reaction here. Brian's reaction is a mix of protective dad and guilty dad. He wasn't there to protect her from the hunger, so he is going to overprotect her from this boy. He's compensating for years of neglect.
But look at Samson. Samson takes the hit.
He doesn't block. He doesn't swing back. He stands there, blood pouring down his face, and he lets Brian scream at him.
Why? Is it just shock?
I think it's resignation, and maybe a strange kind of respect. Samson knows what it's like to be unprotected. Seeing a father willing to commit violence to protect his daughter, maybe Samson respects that, even if he's the victim of it. It's a form of love he never got.
That is just tragic. He's accepting a broken nose because it proves Brian cares about Beyah.
It's a twisted logic, but it fits the damaged profile perfectly.
The aftermath is a complete mess. Brian realizes it was a jellyfish. Alana is asking about birth control, which is just read the room, Alana. But this leads to the most important conversation in the book so far. Segment 6, the confession.
Beyah goes to Samson's rental later to return the memory card. But the air is heavy, not just because of the punch, but because earlier before the jellyfish, Samson had tried to kiss her in the kitchen, and Beyah had pulled away in a panic.
She needs to explain that panic. She needs to explain why she flinches away from intimacy, so she tells him about Dakota.
And this is where we have to really dig in, because the listener, and even Samson up to this point, has probably been thinking Dakota was just a boyfriend.
Beyah tells the story.
Yeah.
She was 15. Dakota was a senior. He had a car.
He offered her rides. He listened to her. He was the only person who paid any attention to her. He groomed her trust over time.
And then, one day, he offered her money. And he unzipped his pants.
This is the moment of coercion. And Beyah takes the money, and she does what he wants.
Why does she take it?
Because the cat is hungry. Because $40 means she can eat for 2 weeks. It's survival sex. It's purely transactional in her mind.
But she has spent years telling herself that Dakota was decent. She says, he never forced me. He was nice about it.
That's the trauma talking. She is rationalizing the exploitation to survive the memory of it. If she calls it rape or abuse, it destroys her. So she calls it a transaction. She tells herself she had a choice, even though poverty removed any real choice.
Samson listens to all of this. And his reaction is, it's everything. He looks at her and says, That wasn't decent. That was predatory.
He reframes the entire narrative for her. He validates that she was a victim, not a participant. He removes the shame from her shoulders. He tells her effectively, you didn't sell yourself, you were exploited.
And then he does something so incredibly healing. He hands her back the control.
He says, I won't kiss you, I won't hug you, not unless you ask me to.
Dakota took her agency away. Samson hands it right back.
It's the antithesis of the ferry scene. On the ferry, she thought he was buying her for $20. Now he is proving that he will never buy her. He will only wait for her. It's the foundation of trust they are trying to build.
It's beautiful. But even with this breakthrough, the world is still there. The class divide is still there. Which brings us to our last segment.
We see this so clearly in the gap year conversation. Samson mentions he's taking a gap year before heading to the Air Force Academy.
To find himself.
And Beyah just laughs.
Yeah.
Because for the poor, a gap year isn't finding yourself, it's falling behind. It's losing your spot.
It highlights that time itself is a luxury. Beyah has been sprinting her whole life just to stay in place. She can't afford to pause.
She feels like a fraud in this world. And that feeling is personified by the dog she finds.
Pepper jack cheese. I love that she names the dog after the food she's eating when she finds it.
It's a stray. It's matted, filthy, starving. It follows her home.
And she adopts it immediately, no question.
She looks at that dog and she sees herself. She feels like a stray who wandered into a beach house. She scrubs the dog, feeds the dog, protects the dog. It's a way of caring for her own broken parts by proxy.
But she can't hide forever. The truth about her future has to come out eventually.
And it does. Ryan catches her on the balcony again with Samson. He's suspicious. He thinks she's just chasing a boy, throwing her life away. He starts lecturing her.
And she snaps. She just blurts it out. I'm going to Penn State. I have a full scholarship.
And Brian is stunned. He tears up. He says, I'm so proud of you.
And this is the complex part. Beyah doesn't want his pride.
She hates it. She thinks, you don't get to be proud. I survived despite you. She feels that if she accepts his pride, she validates his parenting, and she refuses to do that.
It's so messy. She wants a dad, but she rejects the dad she has. It's a contradiction.
That's the reality of trauma. Reconciliation isn't a straight line. It's a jagged mess of resentment and need, all tangled up.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we are left with a lot of unanswered questions. We know Beyah is damaged. We know Samson is damaged.
We know Samson is hiding things too. Why is his house so empty? Why is he so resigned to going to the Air Force? What is his debris?
Beyah says she feels like she has nothing left but a pile of debris, and Samson says he's the same.
And that's the provocative thought we want to leave you with today. We often hear that you need a solid foundation to build a relationship. You need two healthy, whole people.
But here we have two people who are just wreckage.
So the question is, can you build a house out of wreckage? Can two people built from debris prop each other up, or will the weight of their own history just cause the whole thing to collapse?
Can you build a house out of wreckage? That is the question Heartbones asks from the very beginning.
And the answer? Well, the answer is messy, but it's worth watching unfold.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. This story is heavy, but it's so important to look at these dark corners of survival and what comes after.
Absolutely. Go read the source text. Feel the weight of it yourself.
Until next time, keep analyzing the debris. You never know what you might find in there.